Audio log, timeline LC1389. Stand your ground. I ordered, as the twisted versions of the townsfolk advanced. The wasteland Vanjik fired his energy rifle, cutting down the nearest shadowy figures. Faerun Vanjik summoned a barrier of light, pushing back the darkness and illuminating the square. As the corrupted figures recoiled, I spotted the source of the anomaly, a pulsating rift in the fabric of reality, hovering above the fountain in the center of the square. The air around it shimmered, and I could feel its malevolent energy. "That's it," I said, pointing towards the rift. "We need to close that." The wasteland Vanjik nodded. "I'll cover you." "Faerun, can you stabilize it?" Faerun Vanjik closed his eyes, muttering an incantation. The runes etched into his staff glowed brightly. "I'll do what I can. But you'll need to get closer." With a deep breath, I dashed towards the rift, my .44 Magnum ready. The shadows lunged at me, but the wasteland Vanjik's precise shots and Faerun's barrier kept them at bay. As I reached the fountain, the rift's energy pulsed, sending a wave of dark force that knocked me off my feet. "Johnny!" Faerun Vanjik shouted. "Get up, we don't have much time." I struggled to my feet, feeling the oppressive weight of the rift's energy. Gritting my teeth, I raised my magnum and fired at the rift. The bullets, infused with a bit of Faerun's magic, struck the rift, causing it to waver. "It's working," Faerun Vanjik said. "Keep going." Suddenly, a shadowy figure emerged from the rift. Unlike the others, this one had a form reminiscent of the imposter Vanjik. It grinned, its eyes glowing with a sinister light. "Did you really think it would be that easy?" it taunted. I aimed my magnum at the imposter. "Who are you?" The imposter laughed. "Just a harbinger of things to come. You and your multiverse meddling, it ends now." Before I could react, the imposter lunged at me. I fired, but it moved with unnatural speed, dodging the bullets. It grabbed my wrist, and a searing pain shot through my arm as its dark energy seeped into me. "You can't stop us," the imposter hissed. "The multiverse will fall." With a surge of adrenaline, I kicked the imposter away and fired again. This time, the bullet hit its mark, and the imposter staggered back, its form flickering. "Now, Faerun!" I shouted. Faerun Vanjik raised his staff, chanting louder. The light from his staff enveloped the rift, and with a final incantation, he thrust the staff forward. The rift pulsed violently before collapsing in on itself, taking the imposter with it. The square fell silent. The remaining shadows dissipated, leaving us in the eerie stillness of Lancaster. "We did it," Faerun Vanjik said, lowering his staff. "But this is just the beginning." The wasteland Vanjik joined us, his expression grim. "If they're targeting timelines like this, we need to be prepared. There are more out there, and they'll only get stronger." I nodded. "We need to gather more Vanjikis. Strength in numbers." As we stood in the quiet aftermath, I sent another call through the network. "Vanjikis, this is Johnny. We've neutralized the threat in timeline LC1389, but there are more out there. We need all the help we can get. If you're out there, respond." One by one, the responses came in. From timelines near and far, versions of myself answered the call. The battle for the multiverse had only just begun, but united, we stood a chance. The next timeline awaited. As the responses poured in, I felt a renewed sense of hope. The Vanjik network was stronger than ever, and despite the looming threat, we had the means to fight back. We regrouped at the dilapidated church, our temporary headquarters in this timeline. The wasteland Vanjik, ever vigilant, set up a perimeter while Faerun Vanjik began crafting wards to protect the building from further shadow incursions. I took a moment to review the messages from the other Vanjikis. "Johnny, this is Urban Vanjik," came a voice through the network. "We're seeing similar anomalies in timeline UC 457. Requesting immediate assistance." Another message followed. "This is Steampunk Vanjik. Timeline SP902 is stable for now, but we could use backup. The anomalies are spreading faster than we can handle alone." I relayed the information to the team. "We have multiple hotspots. We need to divide and conquer. Faerun, can you stay here and stabilize this timeline further?" Faerun Vanjik nodded. "I'll fortify our position and keep an eye on any new disturbances. Wasteland Vanjik, you and I will head to UC 457. We can't let these anomalies spread unchecked." "Got it," he replied, checking his gear. "Let's move." With the coordinates set, we initiated the jump. The familiar sensation of traversing the multiverse engulfed us once more. As we landed in timeline UC 457, we found ourselves in the heart of a sprawling metropolis. The city buzzed with life, but there was an underlying tension in the air. Shadows flickered at the edges of my vision, a sign of the encroaching anomalies. Urban Vanjik was waiting for us, his sleek attire blending seamlessly with the urban environment. "Glad you could make it," he said. "The anomalies are centered around the financial district. It's getting worse by the minute." We wasted no time, heading straight for the district. As we approached, the anomalies became more apparent. Buildings warped and twisted, their structures defying logic. People moved in erratic patterns, their eyes vacant and lifeless. "Stay sharp," I warned. "This could be a trap." We advanced cautiously, our senses heightened. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was another imposter, but this one was different. It exuded a powerful aura, its form shifting and unstable. "You think you can stop the inevitable," it sneered. "This world will fall, just like the others." I raised my magnum, aiming at the imposter. "Not if we have anything to say about it." The battle was intense. The imposter's attacks were relentless, its form constantly changing to avoid our strikes. But we fought back with everything we had. Urban Vanjik's agility and knowledge of the city gave us an edge, while the Wasteland Vanjik's firepower kept the imposter on the defensive. As the fight dragged on, I noticed something. The imposter's form seemed to weaken each time we landed a hit. It was drawing power from the anomalies, using the chaos to sustain itself. "Focus on the anomalies," I shouted. "Disrupt its power source." Urban Vanjik nodded, using his tech to target the distortions in the buildings. the wasteland Vanjik unleashed a barrage of energy blasts, destabilizing the anomalies further. With each hit, the imposter's form flickered and waned. "No. You can't do this," it screamed, its voice distorted and desperate. I took aim, channeling my resolve into a final shot. "This ends now." The bullet struck true, and with a flash of light, the imposter disintegrated, the anomalies collapsing in on themselves. The city slowly returned to normal, the people regaining their senses. "We did it," Urban Vanjik said, breathing a sigh of relief. "But this was just one battle. There will be more." I nodded. "We're making progress. But we need to stay vigilant. The imposter and its forces won't stop until they've consumed everything." We regrouped and prepared to head to the next hotspot. The fight for the multiverse was far from over, but united, we were ready to face whatever came next. As we landed in Timeline SP902, the sight that greeted us was unlike anything we'd seen before. The city was a marvel of steampunk ingenuity, with towering brass structures, steam-powered vehicles, and intricate clockwork mechanisms everywhere. But the anomalies had taken their toll here as well. Steampunk Vanjik, dressed in his distinctive gear, was waiting for us at the edge of the city. "Welcome to SP902, he said with a grim smile. "The anomalies are concentrated around the central power station. If we don't stabilize it soon, the entire city could collapse." We made our way through the bustling streets, the air thick with steam and the sound of clanking machinery. As we approached the power station, the anomalies became more pronounced. Gears turned in impossible directions, and steam vents spewed dark, unnatural smoke. "Be ready for anything," I cautioned. "These imposters are getting more aggressive." As we entered the power station, the air crackled with energy. The anomalies here were stronger, more volatile. In the center of the room stood another imposter, its form wreathed in shadow and steam. "You think you can save this timeline?" it mocked. "You're too late." We didn't waste any time. Steampunk Vanjik and I charged forward, while the wasteland Vanjik provided cover fire. The imposter retaliated with blasts of dark energy, but we pressed on, determined to end this threat. Steampunk Vanjik used his specialized gadgets to disrupt the anomalies, while I focused on the imposter. The wasteland Vanjik's precision shots kept the imposter off balance, but it fought back with a ferocity we hadn't encountered before. "We need to overload the core," Steampunk Vanjik shouted over the din. "It's the only way to collapse the anomalies." I nodded, making my way to the central control panel. The imposter tried to block my path, but the wasteland Vanjik intercepted it, engaging in a fierce hand-to-hand combat. "Go, Johnny," he yelled. "We've got this." I reached the control panel and began the overload sequence. The power station shook as the core's energy levels spiked. The imposter, realizing what we were doing, let out a roar of anger. "No. You can't do this." With a final push, the overload sequence completed. The core erupted in a burst of light, and the anomalies around us began to implode. The imposter screamed as it was consumed by the collapsing distortions. When the light faded, the power station was intact, and the anomalies were gone. The city slowly returned to its steampunk glory, the mechanical marvels once again functioning as they should. "Good work, Steampunk Vanjik said, clapping me on the shoulder. "But this fight is far from over." I nodded, checking the network for updates. "We've stabilized 3 timelines, but there are many more out there. We need to keep moving." As we prepared to jump to the next timeline, I sent out another call through the network. "Vanjikis, we've neutralized the threats in LC-1389, UC-457, and SP-902. Continue to monitor your timelines and report any anomalies. Stay vigilant, and remember, united, we stand a chance." The responses came in swiftly, a testament to the strength and resilience of the Vanjik network. We were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, determined to protect the multiverse from the impending darkness. The jump to timeline MS-517 was fraught with turbulence, a sign of the severe anomalies plaguing this world. As we landed, we found ourselves in a sprawling metropolis bathed in a perpetual sunset. The buildings were sleek and futuristic, but the air was thick with a sense of impending doom. Modern Vanjik greeted us, his expression grim. "Glad you made it? The anomalies here are off the charts. We're seeing distortions in both time and space." We followed him to the heart of the city, where the anomalies were most concentrated. Skyscrapers twisted and warped, and people moved in and out of temporal loops, repeating the same actions over and over. "We need to locate the source of the distortion," I said, scanning the area. "It's got to be around here somewhere." Modern Vanjik nodded. "We pinpointed the epicenter to the city's mainframe hub. It's heavily guarded by the imposter's forces." "Then let's not waste any time," the Wasteland Vanjik said, readying his weapon. "We need to shut this down." As we approached the mainframe hub, the ground shook, and a massive figure emerged from the shadows. It was another imposter, larger and more formidable than any we had faced before. Its body was covered in armor, and its eyes glowed with an eerie light. "You won't get past me," it growled, its voice echoing through the streets. We spread out, preparing for battle. The imposter charged, its movements swift and deadly. Modern Vanjik used his advanced tech to create barriers and launch precision attacks, while the Wasteland Vanjik and I focused on finding weak points in the imposter's armor. The fight was brutal. The imposter's strength was overwhelming, and its attacks were relentless. But we fought back with everything we had, refusing to let it win. "Keep it distracted," I shouted to the others. "I'll find a way to disrupt its power source." I maneuvered around the battlefield, using the chaos to my advantage. As the imposter battled Modern and Wasteland Vanjik, I scanned for anything that could be its weak point. My eyes caught sight of a pulsating core on its back, glowing brighter with every attack it launched. "There." I pointed. "Aim for the core on its back." Modern Vanjik, quick to adapt, redirected his attacks, launching an EMP burst from his wrist-mounted device. The imposter staggered, its movements becoming sluggish as the core flickered. "Keep it up," I encouraged, taking aim with my magnum. Each shot I fired was aimed directly at the core. The imposter roared, turning its fury towards me. With its attention diverted, Wasteland Vanjik seized the opportunity. He fired a concentrated energy blast, hitting the core dead center. The imposter's roar turned into a scream as the core exploded, sending it crashing to the ground. The ground trembled as the imposter's body disintegrated, leaving behind a crater where it had fallen. The city's mainframe hub was still intact, but the anomalies persisted, flickering in and out of existence. We need to access the mainframe and shut down whatever is causing these distortions, Modern Vanjik said, already moving towards the building. We followed him inside. The mainframe was a massive, sprawling network of servers and cables, humming with energy. At its center was a control terminal, its screen displaying erratic data streams. "Let's hope this works," I said, stepping up to the terminal. With the help of Modern Vanjik, we began deciphering the code. It was complex, filled with layers of encryption designed to protect the anomalies. "We don't have much time," Wasteland Vanjik warned, keeping an eye on the surroundings. "Those imposters might send reinforcements." As we worked, the terminal screen flickered, revealing a series of commands. "There," Modern Vanjik said, pointing. "That's the source of the anomalies." I typed furiously, inputting the commands to deactivate the distortions. The mainframe groaned, its systems straining under the sudden change. For a moment, everything seemed to freeze. Then, with a final keystroke, the anomalies collapsed. The air cleared, the buildings returned to their proper forms, and the temporal loops ceased. The city was stable once more. "We did it," I said, stepping back from the terminal. "For now." Modern Vanjik nodded, wiping the sweat from his brow. "We stabilized this timeline, but it feels like we're just putting out fires. We need a more permanent solution." The Wasteland Vanjik reloaded his weapon, keeping a watchful eye on our surroundings. "Agreed. But for now, let's regroup and plan our next move. We can't keep running on fumes." I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the battles we had fought. "You're right. Let's head back to base and figure out our next steps." We initiated the jump, the familiar sensation of multiversal travel washing over us. In an instant, we were back at our base in timeline LC 1389. The dilapidated church stood as our haven, its old walls now fortified with Faerun Vanjik's wards and modern tech enhancements. Faerun Vanjik greeted us at the entrance. "Welcome back. Any luck?" "We managed to stabilize MS-517, I said, my voice heavy with exhaustion. "But it's clear that these anomalies are just the beginning. The imposters are getting more aggressive." He nodded, his expression serious. "I've been monitoring the network. Other timelines are reporting similar issues. We're spread thin." We moved inside, the dimly lit interior of the church providing a brief respite from the chaos outside. The pews had been converted into makeshift workstations, each one equipped with the tools and tech we needed to monitor and combat the anomalies. I slumped into a chair, feeling the exhaustion catch up to me. "We need a strategy. We can't keep reacting to these anomalies, we need to find the source and cut it off at the root." The Wasteland Vanjik leaned against a table, his face etched with fatigue. "Agreed. But first, we need rest. We're no good to anyone if we collapse from exhaustion." Modern Vanjik set down his gear, his cybernetic eyes flickering as he scanned the room. I'll start analyzing the data from MS-517. Maybe we can find a pattern or a weakness in the imposter's strategy. Faerun Vanjik placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder. Get some rest, Johnny. We've got this covered for now. I nodded, grateful for the support. Thanks, Faerun. Wake me if anything urgent comes up. As I made my way to one of the makeshift sleeping areas, the weight of the multiverse seemed to press down on me. The battles we had fought, the timelines we had saved, and those we had lost, they all swirled in my mind. Lying down, I closed my eyes, hoping for a few moments of peace. The sounds of my fellow Vanjikis working, the hum of the equipment, and the faint glow of the wards provided a strange sense of comfort. In the silence, my thoughts drifted to the imposter. What drove it to such lengths? What was its endgame? And how could we stop it without tearing apart the very fabric of the multiverse? Sleep came slowly, and with it, dreams of endless timelines and the faces of those I had yet to save. But in the midst of the chaos, there was a glimmer of hope, a reminder that we were not alone, that we were Vanjikis, and that we would fight for every life, every timeline, and every future. After a few hours of much-needed rest, I woke to the sound of hushed voices and the hum of activity. The base was alive with the efforts of my fellow Vanjikis, each one dedicated to the cause. I joined the others in the main hall, where Modern Vanjik was projecting data onto a makeshift screen. I've been analyzing the data from MS-517 and comparing it with other timelines, he said, pointing to a series of patterns on the screen. There are some commonalities in the anomalies, similar energy signatures and distortions. Faerun Vanjik, ever the strategist, leaned in closer. Can we use this information to predict where the next anomaly will occur? Modern Vanjik nodded. It's possible. If we can identify the patterns early enough, we might be able to intervene before the anomalies become critical. The Wasteland Vanjik crossed his arms, his eyes narrowing in thought. But that still doesn't get us closer to the source. These imposters are just symptoms of a larger problem. I stepped forward, my mind clearer after the rest. We need to find the imposters' base of operations. If we can take out their command center, we might be able to stop these anomalies from spreading. Faerun Vanjik nodded. Agreed. But finding it won't be easy. They could be hidden in any number of timelines, using advanced cloaking technology. We'll need more intel, Modern Vanjik said, adjusting his cybernetic interface. I've sent out requests for information to other Vanjikis. With any luck, they'll have leads we can follow. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of our mission. In the meantime, we need to fortify our position here. If the imposters decide to target this timeline, we need to be ready. The Wasteland Vanjik clapped me on the back. We've got your back, Johnny. We'll hold the line. With our course of action set, we divided the tasks. Faerun Vanjik and I focused on reinforcing the wards and defenses, while Modern Vanjik continued his analysis and communication efforts. The Wasteland Vanjik kept watch, ensuring our perimeter was secure. As we worked, I couldn't help but feel a sense of camaraderie. Despite the vast differences in our timelines and experiences, we were united by a common goal. Each Vanjik brought their unique strengths to the table, creating a formidable team. Hours passed, the sun setting outside, casting long shadows through the broken stained glass windows of the church. The base was a hive of activity, each of us driven by the urgency of our mission. As the night wore on, a message came through the network. "Johnny, this is Urban Vanjik. We've got a lead on a possible imposter base. Coordinates are incoming." I shared the information with the others, our resolve strengthening. "Looks like we've got our next target. Let's get ready to move out." Before we left, I took a moment to address the team. "We've faced a lot already, and there's more to come. But remember, we're Vanjikis. We protect the multiverse, no matter the cost. Stay vigilant, stay united, and we'll get through this." The team nodded, determination in their eyes. With our gear packed and the coordinates set, we prepared to jump to the next timeline. The fight was far from over, but together, we stood a chance. End of audio log.